right, so we are going to get into some lessons here, or the beginning of some lessons for this program I've been working on here for about the last year, somewhat detailing it out. You know, we're going to start with the working title, Scalp Trader Elite. Obviously, as a disclaimer, the information outlined in the program here, educational purposes only. No claims are going to be made to your individual success by using the techniques or the strategies that we're going to discuss moving forward. Trading stocks in the market, it's risky and difficult. Success isn't guaranteed. Most traders are going to lose money, and a small percentage will find success. So what I will say is those that find success typically are the ones who have the ability to get past the learning curve, right? A lot of people go into this thing as kind of a latch-ditch effort to get themselves out of a financial pinch, or they're too impatient about seeing positive results, and they don't have the patience or sometimes the capital to get past the learning curve. So with that being said, it's a discipline game. Are you going to have what it takes to be an elite trader here? So let's move forward here. Lesson 1 is going to be probably the most important lesson that I think we need to start with, and that is trading psychology, right? So why are we going to start with trading psychology? Well, that's because the biggest hurdle that everybody starting out is going to face is the ability to get past the mental aspect of trading, right? There's a lot of anxiety when you're first starting out. When you have money on the line, a lot of people think that there's a huge amount of risk, which there can be if you go in, very haphazardly, and you're not, mitigating your risk. When you're out here trading, if you're out here buying thousands of shares in the beginning, instead of taking a very metered approach and only buying, 10 shares, 20 shares, even 1 share, if that's what it takes, then you're certainly more prone to risk and more prone to loss when you're starting out. So that's why we're starting with trading psychology here in the beginning, because it's the biggest roadblock that people are going to have to get over to find success here. Okay, as I stated earlier, this is a mental game. Trading stocks is probably 90% mental and 10% process. And when I say that, when I say process, I mean, taking what's it take to learn the trading platform, what's it take to learn how to read charts, what's it take to understand the flow of things as it relates to the relationship between your broker and your platform, and finding support and resistance levels on your charts, and all that process stuff, right? That's 10% of the game, and anybody can learn that, right? Again, this isn't a high IQ genius level activity. Anybody can do this. It's a very patience and disciplined activity. So if you can see yourself through that, right? If you can learn to sit on your hands when it's time to sit on your hands and take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves, you're going to be on the fast track to seeing some positive results here. Okay, and again, 90% mental, 10% process. We discussed a little bit about the trading platforms, basics of chart patterns, support and resistance levels, price action, etc. That's all covered in the process, and the lessons that are going to be coming out, throughout the year are going to be covering a lot of that process. And as we get into those lessons, we will take a step back and dive into the psychology of things as it relates to the process. Okay, so again, these are things that are relatively quick to learn, and again, going to be discussed in further detail as we move forward with the lessons. And the reason we want to start with psychology is because obviously it's the area that most people are going to struggle to overcome. Everybody comes from different walks of life. Everybody has these attachments to money, and you're going to learn a lot about yourself as you get into this, and you start seeing your losses or your profits, and how quick you are to either cut your losses or take your profits. So You're going to learn a lot about yourself here during this process here. So again, learning how to navigate programs and patterns is going to be the easy part, right? The hard part is how are you dealing with yourself mentally, when you're in a trade. And, those first initial trades when you're trading with real money, how are you dealing with the anxiety once you see the stock start to tank a little bit on you? Are you going to be able to stick to your strategy? Or are you going to be, quick to pull the trigger and get out, only to find the stock rebound and, start to head in a profitable direction? And then you're like, I should have held it, right? So these are just things that we'll learn, right? I'm 4 years in, a little bit over 4 years into this thing. So a lot of what I'm telling you is in an effort to remove a lot of the static that's out there, to have a very direct, a very refined, and transparent discussion about what you should be expecting here, and hopefully I can help navigate you a little more clearly throughout your journey here. All right. So again, this is about fighting your instincts and reflexes that you have developed over the course of your life, right, to do what you feel is natural, right? That's going to be the battle. Resisting those urges to buy and sell at points that are not to your advantage is going to be key, and it's going to require some adjustments to how you view things in order to see positive results, right? All that being said is, you have a way about thinking about money, right, from a psychological standpoint. When you get into a trade and you start to see the trade tank a little bit, right, your emotional reaction is going to be, I need to get out of here, right? Or your emotional reaction may be, well, I need to hold on to this because I need to wait for it to rebound, right? And maybe it doesn't rebound. And instead of taking, a $5, $10 loss, now you're taking, a $50 loss, maybe a $100 loss, right? So these are just things that we're going to define in the strategy, right? So if you do have to take a loss, it's within the guidelines of your strategy, right? So, when you have to take a loss, it's not this big, this big weight on your shoulders that you feel so much anxiety about, right? It's manageable, not only from a financial standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, right? So again, you're going to have to develop a robotic mindset to your process. When you see a winner, or when you hit a winner, you can't get overly excited about it because you're going to carry that forward with you to the next trade. When you have a losing trade, you can't carry that with you to the next trade as well, because then you're going to get into revenge trading. You're going to try to make up for the loss. And what you really need to develop is every trade needs to be, stand on its own merit, right? And maybe you didn't follow your rules on that trade, or maybe you did. But either way, you accept whatever it is, is the outcome, and you move on to the next setup. You move on to the next trade, right? So we're not carrying these things with us from trade to trade, right? So this is going to require some mental separation from the money, right? So you can focus strictly on the process and on the strategy, right? A lot of times you will hear people talk about, oh, what's your P&L? How much money did you make? Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter, right? People are going to be at different phases, different levels of their trading journey, right? What might be, a $5, $10 daily goal for you might be, a $500 to $1,000 daily goal for somebody else, right? It's all relative, right? So we need to kind of begin steering the discussion not about what your profit potential is, right? It's about how successful your strategy is, right? And going into the next one here, the money is a byproduct of the strategy, right? So really all we're trying to say, or all I'm trying to say here at that last point is, once you stop thinking about the money and you think about the strategy, the money is going to be what the money is going to be, right? Whether you win or lose, the money is what it is, right? You should be more concerned about whether or not you followed your process and whether you followed your strategy. If I have a losing trade, it doesn't mean that it was a bad trade. It just means that my strategy for that trade didn't work. If I follow my rules, that's fine. I'm willing to accept that, right? But what I'm not willing to accept is if I broke a rule, whether or not I made money or not, right? If I broke a rule and I profited, I'm not going to feel as good about it, right? On the same side, on the flip side, if I break my rule and I lose money, I'm really not going to feel good about it, right? So the key here is not to judge the trade, right? Not to judge the trade by whether or not you're making money on the trade. Obviously, we want a high percentage of wins, but did we follow our rules, right? Are we following the strategy? Did we follow our rules? That's going to be the main metric here. All right. So again, focus on the strategy, and the money is going to be what it's going to be. Win or lose, it is what it is, right? The market does not present the same opportunities, right, day to day. So your expectations really need to be flexible, right? You're not going to, if you set a daily goal when you're starting out of $10 a day, you're not going to hit $10 every day, right? Your daily goal is going to be based on an average of a group of days. Maybe it's a 2-week period, right? Maybe it's a month, right? There's going to be days where you might double and triple your daily goal, right? If it's $10, there might be days where you make 30. Don't carry that. Don't carry that into the next day thinking, oh, I'm gonna increase my shares now because I've been on a rocket ship here, right? Because then you're going to have days where maybe you lose $5 or $10, right, for a consecutive number of days just because the market, is taking a shift, to the downtrend. So you have to be willing to be flexible with your expectations about meeting your daily goals, right? Just because you don't meet your daily goal doesn't mean that you had a bad day in the market, right? Your $10 daily goal, right, is going to be somebody else's $1,000 daily goal, right? And if you only made $5 that day, that other person made 500, right? So you think they're going to complain about making $500 a day if they only hit 50% of their target? Probably not, right? So again, it's all relative to about where you're at in your journey. And as a beginner, your journey is going to be very basic. Your profit targets are going to be very low. Your share sizes are going to be very low to mitigate risk. So again, have a daily profit goal in mind, but understand that your ability to attain it is oftentimes not up to you and your strategy, right? You're not a big fish in the trading world here, right? We're small fish trying to attach ourselves to whales that are moving through the ocean, right? And, we're latching on for a short ride, and we're taking advantage of the opportunities, when we see them, right? So, again, the market doesn't offer continuous momentum and opportunities. There are days, weeks maybe, that the market is just, it's, flat, and, there's not a lot happening, but, on the flip side, it only takes one stock to move during the course of that day for you to get in and hit your goal. You don't need 10 stocks moving with volatility and momentum in order to be successful. You only need one, right? One is more than enough, right? Realistically, you're only going to ever be in one trade at any given time anyway, right? So we'll get into those in the lessons here, and this is really going to be about making sure that our mental capital is reserved for those opportunities when those setups present themselves, and we're ready and prepared to jump on them and take full advantage of what the market's giving us, right? So again, you have to be ready to execute when your setups are ready, right? And it's often a very patience and discipline process. You have to be able to, for 30 to 60 minutes a day, put the phone down, right? Cut off any distractions that you might have, get dialed in, right? And if you can do that for 30 to 60 minutes a day, then, you're going to be ahead of everybody else, right? And again, going back, it's completely acceptable not to hit your daily goal, right? It's simply an average benchmark, right? You're not going to make $10 every day if $10 is your daily goal. Now, you might have a pretty good stretch of winning days, but again, that's dependent upon how the market is moving, for that period of time. If we're in a bull market and and stocks are on the rise, it's not going to be surprising to me or anybody else with a little bit of experience to see, hey, we've been doing good the last couple of days. Well, yeah, the market's up overall, right? The reverse is going to be said when the market's on a downtrend, right? You might not have, as a successful stretch of profitable days, right? So again, those are the times where you need to learn to sit on your hands, and that's where the discipline comes in. You want A quality setups, you want A quality executions, right? You follow your rules, right? You stick to the plan, right? So again, you're going to have days where you can double and triple your goal and days where you hit a max loss for the day. And that's going to be one of the key points that I want to make here. You have to know when to walk away from the market, right? And if you have a daily goal, you have to have a daily max loss for the day as well. If your daily goal is $10, I'm almost inclined to say your daily loss needs to be $5, no more than 10, because you don't want to come back into the next day having to dig yourself out from a $50, hole where it's going to take you the rest of the week potentially to dig yourself back out because you didn't have the discipline to walk away on day one or on Monday, let's say, and now you're spending the rest of the week digging yourself out. I'd rather much come into Tuesday having to dig myself out of a one-day average loss than spend the rest of the week trying to dig myself out of that hole, right? So you're going to have to think in averages and probabilities here, with trading stocks, because it's not going to be everyday consistent. You hit the same amount of money every day. You have the same awesome trades, right? Everything's perfect. Everything's sunny, right? I'm shutting the computer down at 9:30, going to the beach, whatever, enjoying my day. You have to be able, to think, think in probabilities here. So, and that being said, when you shut it down, you can't carry that high level of excitement or that low level of, let's say depression with you, depending on what kind of day you had, right? It is what it is. Don't let it ruin, or don't let it, don't let it alter the rest of your day, right? So let's ask the main question here. Why do you want to learn to trade stocks, right? What is the catalyst here, right? For me, 5 years ago, I had some money saved up and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and ultimately landed, stocks is something I've been interested in for a long time. So I thought, what, I'm going to spend the summer. I bought some books, started reading up over the summer, and that's kind of the bug that I got bit by, 5 years ago, right? It's something I had been interested in for a while. I finally, got around to, starting to read, some books on, day trading strategies and, scalping, momentum in the market. That's kind of what set me on my path here, right? So, again, you have to answer that for yourself. What's the reason here? If your answer is to get rich quick, it's not going to happen, right? Maybe for a very select few people who have some luck on their side and they're not in a position of, let's say, trying to dig themselves out of a financial hardship, where they don't have a lot of pressure put upon themselves to dig themselves out of this financial hardship. They may have some success there, and they may just wind up getting lucky out of the gate, right? But for most people, for most of us, that's not going to be the case, right? So again, you should not be looking at this as a way to save yourself from a financial hardship, because it's not going to happen overnight. This is a very detailed process. It's going to take you some time to study, to understand what, charts, patterns, support and resistance levels. There's a host of other things as it relates to process, but those things are easy to learn. It's just going to take a little bit of time, right? But once you learn them, right, they're learned. It's like riding a bike, right? So you're going to carry that with you. So again, this isn't easy. No way should be mistaken for an easy fix to an issue, right? This should be something that you're interested in, or you should have a little bit of a passion for, And you should really look at it as maybe as a hobby to begin with, right? With the potential to see the ability to scale this thing up as you find success at some bottom levels, and you can begin to scale this thing up. The only difference between the guy making $10 a day as a daily goal and the guy making $100 a day as a daily goal is the amount of shares that they're buying, right? The guy that's starting out with $10 daily goal might be buying 25, 50 share lots on his trades. The guy making $100 a day as a goal, is going to be buying 250 to 500 share lots. That's all. That's all it is. Same strategy, right? So again, thinking it's going to be an easy fix, right, is only going to put unnecessary pressure on you to see results quickly, and it's only going to add to your frustration when those results don't materialize quickly, right? No need for you to be putting unadded pressure on yourself, right, to find success overnight, because it's not going to happen, right? So for myself, it's not about the money, it's about the freedom, right? I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking 5 years down the road, right? What could I see on the back end of this thing if I do find some success, right, with this trading hobby, right? So a few things, right, that we would list in the pro section, right? No boss, right? No customers. There's a limited time, for action through the course of the day. 30 to 60 minutes a day is really all you need to be able to get in and capture your profits and be done with it. So then you have times to pursue your passions, whatever they are, right? Are you a type to, have some charitable endeavors you want to focus on, right? Maybe you're volunteering down at the local animal shelter, right? The local Goodwill, Salvation Army, whatever it is. Maybe you're a teacher's assistant, right? Maybe you want to start volunteering at the school, right? Maybe your motivation is, helping your family and friends, right? Maybe you like to travel. The good thing about travel is, you can, once you learn to trade and you have an internet connection, you can really do this anywhere you want to, as long as you have a decent internet connection, right? So again, ultimately what it amounts to for me is getting the most time I have to experience more things in life than just sitting at a place of employment for 8 hours a day, right? Earning somebody else's profits, right? When I could be doing a host of other things, not only to have a better quality of life for myself, but hopefully I can influence and inspire my friends and family to begin their own journey, right? To create a better quality of life for themselves. So really, that's really why I put these lessons together, and I'm going to start putting these lessons together as I find the success. I want to be able to share that with everybody. And if it's something you're interested in, then we can continue these conversations, and I'll continue to put these lessons out, and hopefully it's of value to you, right? So what I want to get into a few slides here is just, this is what I look at on a daily basis, right? This is the scope of my movement here when I'm trading stocks. So I trade on two monitors, right? So this is my bottom monitor setup, right? I have my scanner, my scanner's on the left here. I have a few charts in the center for some different time frames, 1 minute, 5 minute, daily up top. I have some news headlines here based on that stock. Now on the right hand side, I have my order execution window where I have my ladder, my I can put in my share size up here, buy, sell. I have time and sales over here, but it's the weekend, so the market's closed, so we're not going to see any action here, right? And then I have a top monitor where I have some link to my scanner here. So when I click on a symbol over here, it automatically updates everything there. But I also have 3 other windows here for some stocks that I want to keep an eye on, right? So again, this is the top monitor as I look up, right? And this is where my focus is on the bottom monitor. That's it, right? That's my visual landscape when I'm trading stocks. It's isolated to 2 monitors, right? This isn't a situation where you need 10 monitors to be able to, to track what's going on in the market, right? Monitor 1, It's very compact. Everything that I need to see and react to is right here on these monitors, right? So let's go into the next one, and I'll go back up to the slide there. So let's talk about what you're going to need to succeed, right? And ultimately what it comes down to is you're going to need to do what most people will not be willing to do, or maybe they're just not capable, right? So everybody's situation is different, right? Maybe some people, their daily schedule is so tight already that they can't block out 30 to 60 minutes a day to even practice anything, right? So that there's going to have to be some adjustments to your personal schedules in order to be successful. Anybody that's good at anything, right? What's the rule? 10,000 hours, in order to be good at anything. I'm not saying it's going to take you 10,000 hours to be successful at this, but certainly that philosophy needs to be carried forward, right? So, study, right? That's self-explanatory, right? You're not gonna get anywhere without studying, right? Your trades, back testing your strategy, right? Understanding where you need to make improvements. Taking notes, that's important. As you're going through, whether it's my videos or somebody else that you find out there on the internet that's talking about trading and strategies, right? Keep a notepad handy, right? You never know when you're going to come across a piece of information, right, that's going to be of value to you, right? So make sure you have a notepad handy so you can take notes and reference it, right? Keep a journal. A lot of traders keep journals. How was I feeling today when I was trading, right? What was my mindset, right? Is there a reason why I didn't do so well today? Well, last night had an argument, with a friend or, a spouse or whatever. And, really affected my morning. My routine got messed up, right? So that's the other thing I'll say. When you get into this, your mental game has to be so on point when you get into the market. And the market starts that you almost have to develop a daily routine, let's say 30 minutes prior to the market opening, because you have to get yourself into that mental calm state where, when the market opens and you're ready to take trades, that you're even keel, right? You're not too overly excited about anything. You're not too overly upset about something, right? So when you get into these trades, you don't have, your head's not clouded. So practice trading in a simulator, right? Obviously, we're going to cover this in future lessons, but before we even start trading with real money, we are going to be putting our practice in a simulator, right? Trading with paper money, right? No risk on the line. Get in there, learn the functions of everything, right? Learn how everything flows. Get used to reading chart patterns, looking at support and resistance level, gaining some intuition about the probabilities of the setups that we see, and where we're going to find our entries and exits, right, on these stocks when we see the setups appearing, right? If you don't have any money saved, or during this initial beginning period, you're going to have to concentrate on saving a little bit of money, right? Funding your account, right? Obviously we don't need it when we're practicing, but once you're ready to make the jump to real money in the market, right, we're going to have to put some capital on the line, right? Now, everybody's, starting point is going to be different. There might be people out there with, $500 to start with. There might be people out there with $25,000 to start with, right? There's advantages and disadvantages to both, and we're going to cover those in future lessons. But do you need $1 million to trade the market? Absolutely not, right? Would I want to start out with $500 trading the market? Knowing what I know now, could I be successful at it? Absolutely. Would I want to start with $500 trading the market? Probably not. Only because it limits the amount of shares that I can buy on a given day. and you know your ability to make profits on a $500 account is going to be a lot less than somebody starting out with, say, $5,000 or $25,000, right? So again, that being said, it's not impossible. I wouldn't want to do it. Could I do it? Yes, but I'd rather have a little more money saved up, you know, to begin trading the market, because you need money to buy shares, right? And if I only have $500 and I got a stock that's moving at $5 a share, well, I can only buy 100 shares of that, right? And if I only make, you know, 5 cents on my trade, right, I'm making $2.50, right? So again, it's all relative, but you know, the point here is that the more money you have to begin with, right, the more flexibility you're going to have, and the more shares you're going to be able to buy, right? So you know, evaluate your practice trades, review your metrics, right? So what I mean by metrics is, you know, how well am I doing, or do I need to dial some things in? So let's go back up to a few slides here, which I should have put here. So let's talk about trading metrics a little bit here. Maybe I'll move myself up here. Let's move myself up here. No. I don't know what to say. Okay, anyway. So, you know, trading metrics. So as you're looking at the screen here, this is a snapshot of my metrics over the last 2 months, ending 2022. So I had roughly 500, 500 trades, right? I had 410 winners and 86 losers, right? So, you know, my percentage, my win rate percentage is 82.2%, right? I think if you were to talk to anybody trading stocks, they would say 82.2 is phenomenal. You know, that's a crazy high win rate percentage, right? So if you look down here, max consecutive wins in a row, right? I had 20, you know, over the last 2 months, I had a stretch where I had 25 winning trades in a row. If you go to the flip side here, my max consecutive losses were only 3, right? Average hold time on my winning trades, less than a minute. Average hold time on losing trades, 2 minutes. Scratch trades, less than 10 seconds. So what we can see by by looking at this metric here is, right, I don't hold my trades for very long, because I'm a momentum trader. I'm a scalp trader. I look for the setups. I take advantage of that setup when I see it forming, right? And there's other things that go into it when I'm looking at my time and sales, and I see momentum coming into the market. Look at my time and sales sheet. I see a lot of green on the tape, right? I enter my trade, and I'm looking for them very quick, instantaneous moves to the upside, and I'm taking my profits, right? And then I'm waiting for the next setup. So if we look at some of these other metrics here, performance by instrument movement, right? So this will tell you I'm typically trading stocks that are up over 10% from the day before. I know you can't see that 10%, but performance by price. This is an interesting one here, right? Because as a momentum trader, you'll see here that I'm not trading stocks that are very high priced. Most of the stocks that I'm trading are priced between $2 and $4.99. I have some other, other stocks, right, between 5 and up to 20. But, between $2 and $20, right, is the sweet spot for this style of trading. And if we looked at performance by instrument volume, you'll see here that I'm not trading a lot of stocks that are under 10 million shares of volume at that time where I execute my trades, right? So I know this is a little off tangent, but the reason I wanted to kind of cover this a little bit is because this shows you, some of the metrics that you need to be really focused on, when you're looking to start out, right? These are some of the metrics that will help you kind of define the path, right? So a little bit of a tangent, but we'll get back to our notes here. All right, so let's go back here. Evaluate trades, review metrics, right? Just cover that a little bit of detail. Future lessons are going to dive into that a little more in detail there. So, you know, make adjustments to your strategy. If your metrics indicate areas need improvement, you know, make the changes. Practice and evaluate again. Make adjustments to your strategy. If your metrics indicate areas in need of improvement, make the changes, right? Go back to practice, come back, evaluate those again, right? It's this constant, you know, adjust, measure, right? If you need to make adjustments, you know, make your adjustments, and just, you know, keep tweaking it. So again, you have to have passion for anything you want to be successful in. And trading stocks isn't any differently. You need to be able to dedicate your time. If this was easy, everybody be doing it, right? And you know, it's just not the case, right? You have to have passion. Again, you know, I'm, you know, 4.5, 5 years into this thing here, and I just found myself turning the corner in 2022, right? Could I have turned the corner a little earlier? Certainly, but everybody has a different path, right? Some people are going to pick this thing up quick, hopefully, you know, based on information that I'm able to provide you to kind of drown out some of the static that's out there. Everybody's got a strategy. Everybody's got something they're trying to sell you. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to, you know, really, you know, give you a more clearly defined path to success as I found it. So, you know, again, this is a skill that once you learn, you're going to carry with you always. You know, it's like riding a bike. Unless there's something huge that changes within, you know, the market and, you know, the algorithms that the institutions are using to buy and sell stocks, you know, a lot of what's, you know, a lot of what you're going to learn is going to be relevant, you know, 5-10 years from now, you know. So, you know, once you learn it and you dedicate yourself to it, it's going to be like riding a bike, you know. So, you know, and again, once you turn the corner in your journey, you're going to be able to look back knowing that, you know, that's a path that you're never going to have to walk down again, right? You've went through the struggles, you've went through the trials, you've learned the lessons, you know, you've tweaked your strategy, you know, and you know, that's something that you're never going to have to kind of struggle with again. So, you know, there's some value in that, right? And hopefully, you know, by listening to and watching some of these videos here that I'll be, you know, putting out, you know, this is something that'll help you. So again, you know, the biggest lesson we need to learn here before we even begin, right, is that this is a mental game. I can't stress that enough. 90%, right? 90% mental. If you can get out of your own head and you know, disconnect yourself from how much money, you know, how much money can I make here, right? You know, and just think about the strategy. The money's going to be a byproduct of that strategy, and it's going to be what it's going to be, right? And again, you're not going to make the same amount of money every day in the market, so you shouldn't expect. You need to be flexible. Your expectations definitely need to be flexible. So again, this isn't a genius with a high IQ game. You don't need to be a genius with a high IQ to be successful here, right? You need patience and discipline, right? A patient and disciplined trader, right, will beat an undisciplined genius with a high IQ every time. So in the videos that follow, we're going to get into the 10%, right, that is process, right? We're going to tap back into the psychology discussion, right, in the areas, acquire a little more in-depth discussion about the mindset as it relates to the topic that we're discussing, right? Because there's going to be, you know, certain areas of discussion that we're going to need to take pause. I'm going to say, okay, we need to discuss where your mental state needs to be right now, right, in order for you to see things clearly, right? So again, psychology is always going to be front and center. Mindset's always going to be front and center. So as we're going back into these process lessons, learning about the platform, learning how to read, time and sales, right? Learning how to set the scanner up, right? Learning, chart patterns, things of that nature. Psychology is always going to be part of the discussion, right? So we'll tap back into that, right? So, a little statement that I like, right? The beauty is in the hustle, right? And if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. I thrive personally on the hustle, right? I like seeing how things work. I like, learning about the inner workings of something. And, I spent the last 4 years, tweaking the strategy for myself that, that I find has obviously given me a very high, upwards of 80% win rate on my trades. So, again, beauty is in the hustle. Anything you're passionate about, right? So, again, if this is something you're interested in, we can move on to the next lesson, which is what it's going to take to get set up, right? Not to trade your money, not to trade real money and take risk here, but we're gonna talk about what it takes to get set up to begin practice trading, right? And the broker we're going to use, the platform we're going to use, some of the other bells and whistles that go along with getting set up. In my case, the broker that I use is the same broker that we're going to use to train, and also the same broker we're going to use to trade real money when it's time to trade real money, right? And over the last 4 years, I've dealt with a host of different brokers, different platforms, ultimately I'm back to where I started, just based on, the lessons learned, and, commission and fee structures and things of that nature. And once I started to turn a corner, I began to see I didn't need a lot of these bells and whistles and, programs out there that, needed, you needed to kind of learn how to program code in order to utilize them. Didn't need them. So again, it's going to be a very streamlined process. So when we are ready and we're at the point to flip the switch to start trading real money, right? You're within the same platform, the same structure, the same layout, right? So really all we're doing is we're flipping a switch from a paper account, right, to a real money account, right? So what I say here, you can locate the lesson in the library labeled Lesson 2, Getting Set Up. If you're watching this early 2023, it might not be up yet, but keep a lookout for it. I will get that produced and uploaded soon. And just a quick snapshot of what's going on here. Let me hide myself here. Can I hide myself? Let's see. Boom, there we go. So this is just the basic snippet on Lesson 2 of Getting Set Up. We're going to cover, accounts for the broker, TD Ameritrade. We're going to discuss platforms. We're going to discuss, scanners. There's a fee for some of these scanners. If you have the ability to extend yourself out on, within your budget, thinking about it, think of it as, somewhat of as a tuition expense in order to get the most out of the experience. We'll discuss some hardware, computers, RAM, monitors, things of that nature. Should be a very quick lesson, but things that you'll need in order to get set up and started for training, right? So with that being said, if you have any questions or comments, you need a little more clarification on some of the things we talked about, drop me a message. Send me a direct message. Those of you that know me, feel free to reach out and make sure we get those questions answered for you. So if this is something you're interested in learning in the new year, let's start this journey. And as the weeks progress, we're going to be adding more lessons to the archive here. And hopefully it provides some value to you. All right. With that being said, everybody have a good start to the year, and we'll see you in the next video.